Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. 26-year-old Arsenal player is now back in full training ahead of Nottingham Forest clash. Mikel Arteta has received a boost as Zinchenko has returned to full Arsenal training ahead of the Premier League starting. In a video shared by Arsenal on their official website, the Ukrainian international was spotted alongside his teammates going through their final preparations. Arsenal will be going into Saturday's match against Nottingham Forest. After years of waiting, Mikel Arteta finally got the better of his old mentor Pepe Guardiola on Sunday. It took a very late deflected goal from Trossard and a penalty shootout to do it, but Arsenal lifted the Community Shield after defeating Manchester City. They will know they can't take Nottingham Forest for granted this weekend, despite the visitors' atrocious away record last season. All eyes will be on Mikel Arteta's starting lineup this weekend, given the plethora of options he has at his disposal. Zinchenko returning to Arsenal training might just give him a conundrum in defense. His chosen back four that day thwarted the best attack in the league. Their performance may just allow the 26-year-old some extra rest, which could be welcomed given his recent injury record. On Sunday, Arteta selected Julian Timber at left back to deal with Manchester City's attacking options. Timber did brilliantly, and it says a lot that Cole Palmer got the better of Tierney minutes after he came on. Zinchenko is still Arsenal's best inverted left back, but Arteta will be working on the team's shape in training to allow them to invert from the right now that Timber has arrived. What that means for Zinchenko's status as first choice left back remains to be seen. Wantaway Arsenal star now has an exit route in Saudi Arabia. Arteta won't stand in his way. Arsenal winger Nicolas Pepe may finally have an exit route from the side as clubs from Saudi Arabia have made offers for the player. The update comes via BeIN SPORTS, who shared the information on X. The report says, there is information that Nicolas Pepe has received offers from Saudi Arabia and Italy. Given that Nicolas Pepe wants to leave the club and Arsenal feel the same way, these routes could be particularly attractive. Pepe has returned to Arsenal over the summer, concluding his Nice loan, but hasn't featured in a preseason nor any of Arsenal's media calls. It seems the writing is on the wall. Pepe just needs to find a club. Arsenal's transfer window seems to have been split into two halves: incoming players and now departures. Kai Havertz, Julian Timber and Declan Rice all arrived, and now Pablo Mari, Granit Xhaka, Austin Trusty and Matt Turner have all left, and with it being revealed that Mikel Arteta still has one more target for Arsenal this summer, Saudi interest in Pepe could be particularly timely. Whether it's Saudi Arabia or Italy, it's reported that Arsenal need further departures if they are to buy a new holding midfielder. It's unfortunate that Nicolas Pepe's time at Arsenal is likely to end as it will. He arrived at the Emirates with so much hope and ability and was the real flagship player of the Unai Emery era, but much like his former manager, Pepe never showed the consistency to compete at the top level. Pepe was of course burdened by his price tag, something that he couldn't control, but he sadly didn't live up to the lofty challenge. Whether Pepe will want to leave Arsenal for a side in Saudi Arabia remains to be seen. At 28-year-old, Pepe still has some excellent years of football ahead of him. They just don't seem like they will be at the Emirates. Pundit thinks 29-year-old should never have signed for Arsenal in the first place. Friedel has suggested that Matt Turner probably should not have joined Arsenal in the first place after leaving the Emirates for Nottingham Forest after just 1 year. Friedel was speaking on talkSPORT after the USA international completed his move away from the Gunners to join Steve Cooper's side. Few Arsenal fans would have imagined before the summer that Matt Turner would end up leaving before the deadline. The 29-year-old seemed to be an ideal number two for Mikel Arteta's side. Finding someone to be a backup goalkeeper is one of the most challenging tasks for clubs, so having an international stopper as backup to Aaron Ramsdale appeared to be ideal. But Arsenal have now made a move to sign David Raya from Brentford, and with that, the Gunners have given Turner the green light to move to the City ground. Friedel clearly thinks that heading to Forest is the right decision for Turner, as he does not believe that Arsenal was the right club for him in the first place. He said, "The guy who was just there, Matt Turner, sat on the bench for a whole year. He shouldn't have really signed for Arsenal in the first place, in my opinion. He is good enough to play somewhere." It will be interesting to see how Turner fares at Forest. He is surely going to start the campaign as their number one. Obviously, it's hard to imagine that Arsenal will rule letting Turner go, but Turner does have a point to prove. This is a step up for him, given that he will get the chance to be number one. He has not been America's number one for that long, so he is still slightly unproven at the very highest level. Certainly, Arsenal fans will be intrigued to see how he gets on now that he has moved on to join Forest. Arsenal coach is very impressed with the 22-year-old Arsenal youngsters passing in training. Arsenal defender William Saliba has been impressing his coaches with his passing range in a training this week. The club shared a video of the first team squad in action ahead of their league campaign kicking off. Arsenal host Nottingham Forest on Saturday's early kick-off this weekend. There may be a sense of déjà vu for Mikel Arteta, as Arsenal will once again know Manchester City's result before their match begins. Pepe Guardiola will be reunited with Man City club legend Vincent Kompany as Burnley host the champions. All Arsenal can do is concentrate on their own fixtures though, and they will want to get off to the perfect start on Saturday. One man who is likely to be key to any success Arsenal have this season is William Saliba. It was no coincidence that their campaign started to unravel when he picked up an injury against Sporting in the Europa League. Saliba has been demonstrating his skills in training ahead of Arsenal's opening league fixture. The 22-year-old showed he is more than just a brilliant defender. The video shared by Arsenal showed the squad taking part in a team drill where they were aiming to keep possession. Saliba has the ball at his feet in the training match before playing a pass through the lines to Kieran Tierney. Arsenal's coaches on the sidelines can be heard applauding the Frenchman with one shooting, "Well done, Willie." Saliba is an excellent defender, and his partner in crime, Gabriel Magalhaes, has admitted he's been shocked by his strength too. However, he is so important to the way Arsenal play because of his ability on the ball. When Rob Holding replaced him during his spell on the sidelines last season, there was a small drop off in his defensive ability. The most noticeable difference was Holding couldn't link up with his teammates as effectively, hampering Arsenal's build up play. Arsenal will spend countless hours in training working on how they are going to create chances, and Saliba's involvement will be pivotal. An injury-free campaign for the Frenchman might be the difference between second and first place this year. Ferdinand says Arsenal ace Ramsdale has a big quality, which Raya doesn't. Arsenal look like they will have two top goalkeepers next season, and Pundit Anton Ferdinand believes Aaron Ramsdale has a top quality, which we have not seen from David Raya. Arsenal mean business this summer transfer window. They have already signed Declan Rice, Yurian Timber, and Kai Havertz. Now, reports are suggesting that they will sign goalkeeper David Raya as well. This is a surprise, but shows the mentality of the club right now. They want to make sure they have great squad depth and can compete for the Premier League title with Manchester City next season. Speaking on the Fives podcast, host Flex brought up the transfer of David Raya to Arsenal, and he said how it could look like manager Mikel Arteta has lost faith in Ramsdale and may prefer Raya. This was something that Ferdinand was not happy to hear. he interjected and said, "That's disrespectful, disrespectful that is." The conversation moved on and then discussed the impact Raya joining has on Ramsdale and who is the better player. Ferdinand said, "Ramsdale's a big personality in that dressing room. When you watch Ramsdale, he plays in between the lines by the way. He will get the ball on the edge of his box, put his studs on it, have a scan and play between the lines. Do you know what Ramsdale has shown which Raya hasn't shown? It's the difference playing in a team who are a top 4 team to a team that are mid-table. There is long periods in a game where goalkeepers don't have to make saves. Ramsdale has shown that he's got the concentration to not be involved in the game and go bang, I'm going to save something that is going to make us win the game. We have not seen that from Raya. That's a big thing. Both goalkeepers are no doubt great talents. It's huge that the Gunners will be able to have both next season at the club all goes to plan. You can see why Ferdinand has tasked his case for Raya, but no doubt we will get a proper look into how good the two really are over the course of next season. Pundit thinks 24-year-old is going to be massive for Arsenal this season. Michael Owen believes that Declan Rice is going to have a huge impact at Arsenal during the coming season, insisting that he is going to make a massive difference to the Gunners. Owen was speaking to the Premier League website as Mikel Arteta's man looked to go one step further this term after pushing Manchester City in the title race last year. Of course, Arsenal have been the pace setters in the transfer market this summer. They have signed the likes of Kai Havertz and Jurriën Timber, but obviously their marquee bit of business was to bring Declan Rice to the Emirates. Arsenal broke their transfer record to sign the England international, so there is going to be plenty of pressure on the 24-year-old to step up and justify the record spent. But Michael Owen believes that Rice is more than capable of living up to the expectations with Arsenal, as he backed the former West Ham captain to be the signing of the season. He said, Declan Rice will make a huge impact, and Andre Onana could be a brilliant signing for Man United. I'm going to say Rice, though, he is going to make a massive difference to Arsenal this season. It's still not entirely clear where Mikel Arteta intends to use Rice. He is someone who can play as a holding midfielder or as more of a number 8. He started as a defensive player for the Hammers, but as time went on, he started to show that he was very capable of getting forward and making an impact in the final third. Arsenal have so many versatile players in their ranks, so Arteta could easily use Rice in a couple of ways for the Gunners this season. It will be interesting to see where Arteta sees Rice realizing his full potential as he approaches the peak years of his career. Pundit reckons Arsenal could still sign £80 million player. Arsenal have spent around £200 million on new players this summer, and yet somehow it feels as though they are not finished yet. David Raya is still set to arrive on loan, and the terms of that deal may mean that there is some cash free for the Gunners to spend elsewhere. Speaking on off the ball, Kenny Cunningham has given his verdict on Arsenal's impending business, and he believes they could still have a real trick up their sleeve in the shape of Moses Caicedo. Indeed, the pundit reckoned that Arsenal could still move for Caicedo, stating that he can envisage Thomas Partey heading to Saudi Arabia to raise some cash. Cunningham shared his view on how Arsenal's window could play out with the £80 million midfielder. He said, I still feel as though there may still be something else. Caicedo is a fascinating one. He was linked to Chelsea and it looked like it was done a while ago, but it hasn't happened. He was linked to Arsenal and he wanted to make that move to Arsenal the second half of last season, but it didn't happen. They couldn't agree on a fee. Thomas Partey's situation is an interesting one. I thought he was the one Arsenal player who struggled at the end of last season. He's had problems with injury. I just wonder with the money they are throwing in Saudi Arabia. I saw one link where Partey's name was mentioned and I just thought Christmas could come early and they could get Partey out and get Caicedo in. For me, that puts them in a far better situation. Could you imagine if Arsenal did manage to pull off this kind of a deal before the end of the transfer window? The Gunners have already put together one of the most interesting transfer window in recent memory, and if they signed Caicedo, you'd have to call this one of the best windows ever. Of course, it's unlikely, but as Carringham says, the interest has been there, and if there are a few big money sales, perhaps Arsenal could dip back in here. Keep an eye on this one. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.